I was looking at some of the news that the synod publishes and some of the headlines that come out. And one headline that caught my eye was Cardinal Hollerich saying, "If women do not feel comfortable in the church, then we have failed." And I was there thinking, well, especially in Europe, in our local churches, most men don't feel comfortable in the church. Most normal, everyday men don't feel comfortable in the church. You will find them playing sports. You will find them doing different activities, politics. When it comes to God and religion, especially in Ireland, most men won't talk about it. I just happened to be walking around Belfast this morning, and I went into one of the second-hand shops to browse the different books that's there. You can get some very good books for next to nothing. And there was this book here called Why Men Hate Going to Church. And I just thought, oh gosh, this is an interesting book. It's written by a Protestant, but it's well researched. And there was just this part here where it says men need a relationship with God. I'm just going to read something out here. It's not enough for men to connect with each other. They need to connect with God. Our churches are full of men who know about God, but do not know God personally. For men, the key question is not, am I saved, confirmed, baptized, a member of a church, a practicing Catholic, a believer, a Christian, or spirit-filled? All of these things are good, but they do not get to the heart of the matter. The real question is not of a status, but one of practice. Am I walking with God? Am I following Jesus Christ today? Professor Carl Clausen frequently received worried parents in his office. They have adolescent or young children who are living self-destructive lifestyle. The conversation often goes like this. Pastor, is Johnny a follower of Jesus Christ? Well, he went to camp when he was 12 and he was accepted. Pastor, wait a minute, time out. Is Johnny a follower of Christ? At 15, he went through confirmation. Hang on. Is Johnny a follower of Jesus Christ today? Once men are saved, confirmed, baptized, members, we tend to forget about them. We teach them principles and give them moral guidance, but we do not show them how to walk with God. The average church-going guy has no idea how to follow Jesus for 3 reasons. He has never been shown how to do it. He has never seen another man doing it, other than a pastor. And he thinks that it's about religious practice and moral living. We call men to confirmation, church membership and salvation because we can count these things. We can report them to headquarters. It's harder to count the number of men walking with God, but is there anything more important to the health of your church? Men need to follow Jesus Christ, but we cannot expect them to do it alone. It takes spiritual fathers and a band of brothers it takes a team. I just thought that even though the book was, with its Protestant slant, it definitely touched on the topics that we see today. Not every country is the same. Not every part of the church is the same. I was very impressed by the Syro Malabar Church and how actively men are involved in the life of the church, in practicing their faith. It's truly amazing, truly incredible. And I suppose the church is dying in some areas and growing in other areas. But, when you go out in the streets this morning, yesterday evening and this morning was walking around here, and obviously it's a big thing, the 12th in Belfast, and it's an interesting sight to see. But you see men taking drugs on the street. You see men sleeping on the street. You see one guy. I'm not too far from Harland and Wolf here, and I just saw a guy walking down the street, completely intoxicated, with with his shirt off, and like you wonder what meaning do these men found in their life. And I mean, it's just a symptom. Most men most homeless are men. You know, most most people that gamble are men, that have gambling problems are men. Most suicides, most people that commit suicide, the majority, and I'm saying 60%, are men. So there's all of these symptoms when men don't have a purpose in life, when men don't have meaning. Where do they head off? But the great thing about Christ and about his gospel and about his message is he just didn't leave a book. He left a church, and he left a group of men to help other men. And he also left women to help other women. But he said, go and make disciples of all the nations. Give what he gave. And he gave this incredible message that transforms the lives of men if we want to walk with it. Now, if we look at what's going on in the synod, which I said from day one is not addressing the real problems in many areas in the church, it looked like the Anglican synod being brought to Rome. All of the wokeness that the Anglican synod was facing got infected into the Catholic synod, really. But the church isn't addressing the real problems. It isn't addressing the real problems that how, if we believe in our Lord Jesus Christ, if we believe in his message, how are we going to give that message to other men? And it takes a team. It will take a team. It takes a team to evangelize those that need to know this good message, because it's the message of Christ is as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Men need meaning. Women need meaning, but men especially need meaning. And trying to navigate that in today's world is a very interesting topic. I mean, I'd love to see other people's thoughts, but I just thought that this book, Why Men Hate Going to Church, I mean, what men perceive as religion, I mean, going to a specific building and sitting in a pew and seeing the mass and listening to homily, our faith is far broader than that. It's a personal relationship with God. God is so real that he wants to come experience us so we can experience him. He wants to have this intimate union with us, to transform us, to change the way we think of life. And this message is so important for today's world. The gospel is more needed today than it is. Because once you don't have God, what do you have? Money, power, work, careers, all of those things will end. But God gives us the ultimate meaning to everything in this life. And when you team up with other men to give this message to the world, men will listen. Men will listen. I'd love to see this in some synodal meeting. How do we make the faith more relevant to men today? But I suppose it'll take 10 or 20 years for church theology to come around to the real problem. And there is real problems in the church. I mean, when we see tweets from the likes of James Martin to say, my professors, my confessors, my spiritual directors, blah, 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 they're all gay. I mean, you're really doing... okay, you're going after a certain sector of men. You're not going to reach the ordinary man on the street with that type of statement. And if the church is ever going to be renewed and to connect with men today, it needs to understand the ordinary man today to be able to connect with him. And I don't think Rome is capable of doing that with their synodal agenda, especially not in the West. But I as I said, in other areas of the church, in Africa, in Asia, Korea, India, the church is doing this very effectively. But in America, Latin America, Europe, it's really failing because we don't have leadership to actually lead men. to have this proper, intimate relationship with God. Once man finds God, once man finds Christ, he finds meaning. And it's a transformative meaning. That's my opinion anyway. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I don't know if anybody's ever read this book, but it's a fascinating study. And even though I presume it's a Protestant that has written this book, some of the reflections, some of what he's talking about, does make sense. I'll just read you something here, which I thought was fascinating, which I just thought was interesting. Let me see. Men have a religion. It's called masculinity. Cliff's a man's man. On the job, he's known as a go-getter, a hard worker. He's a good provider who loves his wife, his kids. He is well respected by his neighbours. Cliff drives a humongous four-wheeled drive pickup. He loves his outdoors. He takes every opportunity for a little hunting and fishing. He enjoys a cool beer and dirty jokes. He does not go to church. Ask him why he doesn't go to church. He'll offer up words like boring, irrelevant, hypocrite. But the real reason Cliff doesn't go to church is that he's already practicing another religion. The religion is masculinity. The ideology of masculinity has replaced Christianity as true religion of men. We live in a society where a female religion and a male religion, Christianity in various sorts for women and non-masculine men, and masculinity is for men. Cliff practices his religion with a single-mindedness the Pharisees would envy. He works, his hobbies, his entertainment, his follies, his addictions, everything he does is designed to prove to the world he is a man. His religion also demands he avoid anything that might call his manhood into question. This includes church, because Cliff believes deep in his heart the church is something for women and children, not men. Cliff is not alone. Men have believed this for centuries. In the 1800s, Charles Spurgeon said, "There has got a broad notion somehow that if you become Christian, you must sink your manliness and turn milksop." Cliff sees Christianity as incongruous with his manhood. It's a woman's thing. Now, that's just the opening. You could debate this out. But when we see today what are the role models that men have, sadly, faith, the church, hasn't offered itself as a model that men will follow. When we look at some of these speakers like Peterson, and they come and they do a conference, say in Dublin, thousands of men will turn up. It's nearly 80-20 to listen to him, to listen to different speakers. Yet, if a similar conference was organised by a bishop or a priest, would they come? What is the message we are offering? And, the reality is our society is 50% male. How do we connect with them today? How do we give this message of Christ's freedom to men today? Well, it has to be men to do this. You have to be a man to do this. But I think the church doesn't see that, or is not capable of tapping into that. And then they're wondering, why are there no vocations? Like, the sad thing is, for me, because once you've encountered Christ, he gives a totally different view, meaning, understanding of life. He changes everything. And a lot of men see this. But I think if more joined together to give their experience of the faith. I mean, this is why I think the likes of the Cursillo movement or these different movements, and you can pick whatever one you have in the church, but for example, an Emmaus retreat or a Cursillo retreat, or maybe the neo-catechumenal or so forth, that have specific men's directed ministry. Cursillo will have a men's weekend. They have men's groups. They bring the faith into the fore. It becomes, you're listening to other men talking about their faith journey, and this is how men form each other. Okay, well, this man has done it that way. He's like a way marker. I can relate to that. I can follow that. I can understand that. And this is what is needed in the church. I mean, years ago, from what I've been told, because I've never seen one, there used to be these parish missions, and there used to be parish missions for women and parish missions for men, or there used to be evenings where there'd be talks for women and talks for men. We're doing very little to do that today. And it's key. It's key. If men of faith showed other men their struggles, their battles, were a little bit vulnerable, that they would connect with other men and grow the faith. But we're not, sadly, the Catholic faith is seen as something, it has had a bad reputation, sadly. But we can't be despondent to the past. We have to draw from our own experience. If I didn't believe this, I wouldn't blog about it. If I hadn't met Christ, and it's a great grace, and I feel humbled, but if I hadn't met him and I didn't know he was real, would I be doing this? Probably not. But the fact that he has spurred me on, I exist, I'm present, I am the Word, I am the way, the truth, and the life, I can transform your life. It does drive me continuously to think, well, he is real. He is real. And he taught, if you think, for 3 years with his disciples, continuously with this conversation, this teaching, that he would have sat down with them and taught them. If for example, in the Jewish law, he would have challenged them. He said, if you look at a woman with lust in your heart, you've committed adultery with her. Oh, well, what's that mean? Sorry, I'm only looking. He said, no. He challenged men to be like him. He challenged men to rise up, to transform themselves, to be transformed by grace. And he was doing this for 3 years. We don't do this today. How many men will sit down with other men over the course of a few years to talk, to challenge each other, to teach each other? Young men especially, or men today, need spiritual fathers, need true spiritual fathers. And men need to be taught how to, that great vocation of fatherhood. But sadly it's not being done, and this is one of the crises. Anyway, that's just a book that fell into my lap today, which I thought was interesting, and I thought it connects in with the synod, because the synod is off with the fairies. The synod is off with the fairies. They have forgotten about the apostolic teaching of the Catholic Church. Off with the fairies. If the church has spent as much time talking about men's ministry and connecting with men as they did talking about the alphabet ideologies, maybe we would have had something there. But sadly, with the likes of Hollerich and others, they have been caught up in some ideology. That's simply my view anyway. They're not connecting with the real problems in the church. Men's ministry has to be tackled with men, and you need in order to connect with it, because the gospel is desperately needed in this world. Christ transforms. But I wonder sometimes what is going on. I'd love for somebody to kind of stand up and say, hold on a second, let's take this a step back and try and do a proper program for evangelization in this world, starting with education. Anyway, God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.